set, a Tanakh original straight out of the Forbidden West. Sit. I'll run you through it in a hot spark. I'll give you something special if you win at all my boards, too. All right, let's start off simple. The Tanakh like to say that Machine Strike is a game of pure strategy. We each get a set of pieces. Each piece represents a kind of machine, and each machine is worth a different number of victory points. And to win the game, you'll need to gain 7 victory points by destroying the opponent's machines. It can be tricky remembering the details of every machine, so we use these notes to keep track of them. You see that number on the top right corner? That there is how many victory points you'll get for destroying that machine. Notes also tell you how far a piece can move, how powerful their attacks are, the distance they can strike from, and of course, their health. Okay, that's enough for now. Let's just play. I own the board, so I get to choose who goes first. Since this is your first time, I'll let you go. Usually you get to choose which pieces to set on the board, but this will do for now. Pick up that machine piece to your right, and move it forward. Use the piece on your right. You'll see why in a bit. And remember, each machine can only move a certain distance. Take a look at your notes if you need a reminder. Easy enough, huh? Now, you get to move 2 machines each round, so go ahead and pick a second machine. Perfect. There's not much else to do for now, so just end your turn. Words. Let me move my pieces here. And we're back to you. This time, why don't you try attacking one of my pieces? Try with that machine on your right first. Now move the piece. When performing an attack, you'll be testing your machine's combat power against the opponent's. A machine and its own attack power. This board only has grassland terrain, which has no effect on a machine's combat power. And your current machine has 2 points of attack power. So in total, your machine's combat power equals 2 points. Since my machine isn't the one attacking, it has 0 points of attack power. And just like your machine, it's not affected by grassland terrain. So right now, the difference in combat power between the 2 machines is 2 points. This means your machine can do 2 points of damage to my machine. Did you get all that? Knew you were a smart one. Finish up by attacking my machine. Not pulling any punches, huh? Now grab that second machine of yours. See how your machine can't move close enough to attack mine? You can make your machine sprint. That lets it move 1 space further. Try it out. Downside to sprinting is that your machine can no longer attack. Now, some players like to take a risk and overcharge their machine in cases like this. Overcharging lets you attack after a sprint, but it will damage your machine's health by 2 points. So use at your own discretion. Let's try doing that now so you can see what I mean. That's about it for your turn, then. Now, I'll let you in on a neat trick. That machine of yours, the one closest to me, grab a hold of it. Same as in the wilds, machines have both armored points. You can see them marked on the pieces. Blue shows where their armor is thickest. Hit them there, and you'll do some damage, but not a lot. Now, red shows the machine's weak points. Hit those, and you'll deal a mighty blow. Here, let me show you. Rotate that piece so your machine faces mine. Rotate that machine so it faces mine. It's easy. Rotate your machine for me. Now off the board she goes, and there's your first victory points. You don't have 7 of them yet, so let's keep going. Your machine attacked mine, but hasn't moved yet. Go ahead and move downwards towards my remaining piece. You've already attacked a machine and moved your piece. But if you overcharge your machine, you can attack a second time. And by the look of your machine's health, you'd be sacrificing your piece to defeat mine. But sometimes, that can be a good thing. Overcharge your machine to attack mine a second time, and I'll show you what I mean. Ain't that a thrill? Now, because your machine was knocked out at the same time as mine, we both get the victory points our machines are worth. Good news is, since you're the one attacking, you're gonna receive your victory points before I do. Which means you can reach the coveted 7 victory points first. That's why sometimes losing a piece can be the best way to end a game in your favor. Now, you'll notice you didn't get quite up to 7 victory points this time, but you did destroy all my pieces. That means you're the winner! That wasn't so hard, was it? Just remember to always check for the best terrain to attack from. You'd be surprised the advantage you can gain over an opponent like that. I know it saved my behind in a game or two.
I'll try and remember that.
Oh, before I forget, these are all my spare pieces. I want the Savior of Meridian to have them. It's a small set to be sure, but it should be enough to get you in on any strike games you find out there. You might even fancy looking out for them strike carvers. They've got all kinds of unique pieces that can turn a game in your favor, though they'll need the right materials to craft you one. Or you might find them in the wilds if you're lucky. I know I've lost my fair share of pieces after night of machine hunting or brew hopping. No need to thank me. Always a pleasure to help out new strike players. Now, if you feel like playing a real game, I've got plenty of other boards. I could even teach you a few more tricks if you're up for it.
Thanks. I'll think about it.
Don't be a stranger.
Savior! Over here!
Maybe you ought to slow down.
Armor is my trick.
Airlight gates are still open? After the Tanakh slaughtered those...
Gates only close before you.
Hello!
Let me... was doing business in no man's land. Can't exactly lock them out now, can you?
Well, I hope a person like Chris him up.
Welcome back. I knew I'd make a strike player out of you yet. How about this time I tell you how to use a board's terrain to your advantage? This one's got all the different terrains you can encounter in a game of Strike. Knowing when and how to use them can mean the difference between victory and defeat. Terrain mainly affects your machine's combat power. As you know, when fighting an opponent's machine, you compare its combat power to yours. The higher your machine's combat power, the more damage you can do. It is an essential strategy for overpowering your opponent. Here, I'll show you. Grab that piece to your left and move to attack my machine. Now combat power is the sum of a machine's attack power and the value of the terrain it's standing on. Since your machine is attacking, it's using its 2 points of attack power. It's also standing on forest terrain with a value of 1 point. Add those together and your machine has 3 points of combat power. My machine is standing on grassland terrain with a value of 0 points. It's also not attacking, which means their attack points aren't in play. So my combat power is 0. This means your machine can do 3 points of damage. Go ahead and test it out. There you go. Now, choosing the right terrain doesn't just improve your offense. It can also help defend your machines from attack. Grab your other piece and place it in front of my second machine. Since your machine is attacking, it's using its 2 points of attack power. It's standing on grassland terrain. This terrain has a value of 0. This means your machine's combat power adds up to 2 points. My machine can't use their attack power since they're defending their position. But they have the higher ground. They're standing on forest terrain, which is worth 1 point. This means my combat power adds up to 1 point. Now, the front of my machine is colored blue. This means that the spot you're about to attack has armor protecting it, which means my machine gets an extra point, giving it a total of 2 combat power points. If we compare the combat power of both machines, you'll see that you won't be able to do any damage. Whenever you're unable to top an opponent's combat power, you can still choose to attack and break their machine's defenses instead. Go ahead, try it out and see what happens. Ha, see? When you break a machine's defenses, you can knock it backwards. Sure, both our machines will receive 1 point of damage, but knocking my machine off that terrain makes it more vulnerable to attacks. Not only that, if my machine had been blocked from moving backwards, it would have received an extra point of damage. And if my machine had been blocked by another one of my pieces, that machine would have received damage as well. That's why breaking a machine's defenses is a great way to deal damage. Useful, right? Okay, now go ahead and end your turn. There's still one. All right, as we've seen, the higher the terrain, the more it'll add to your machine's combat power. However, there are 2 other terrains that work a little differently. This is what we call a chasm. Only flying machines can be placed on those. But it'll take away 2 combat points if you do, so be wary. This is marsh terrain. Landing on it will take away 1 combat power point from most machines. It'll also keep your machine from moving for the rest of the turn. Here, let me show you. Grab that machine on your left. See? All you can do now is wait for your next turn to move again. Or you can overcharge your machine to get out of there. You can still attack any nearby enemies so you're not completely helpless. Well, I think that's enough yammering from me for now. Promise it'll all come in handy next time you play. Here for more tips? Why don't I tell you a bit more about the pieces we used to play? In a normal is worth a certain number of setup points, and you can spend up to 10 assembling your army. Knowing what each machine brings to the game and building an army that matches your strategy is the key to becoming a machine strike master. When assembling your army, there are a few things to keep in mind. First and foremost, you can never have more than 4 of the same machine on the board at the same time. With that in mind, most players would choose machines based on how far they can move or how much attack power they have. But a real strike player will be looking at a machine's type and skills. Let's take a quick look, shall we? Pick up that machine on your left. All right, let's talk about the different ways in which a machine attacks its opponents. In other words, its machine type. If you look at your notes, you'll see this machine here is a melee type. You can also tell by the shape of the base the piece stands on. A melee type machine attacks the first enemy within range, and no one else. We've seen this plenty of times, so just move that piece forward so I can show you some more stuff. Great, now grab your other machine. Looks like we've got ourselves a gunner type machine here. This means they'll only hit the farthest enemy in their attack range. Let's move that machine forward and end your turn so we can take a look at the rest of the pieces. Let's go with this piece first. This is a ram-type machine. Attack an enemy with it, and it'll push the piece backwards. Like this. See, now my machine has taken over your machine's spot on the board. This is a great way to take the advantage away from your opponent if they have the higher ground. Looks like we have one more piece to look at. Now this is a beauty of a piece, a dash-type machine. When it attacks, it'll move to the end of its attack range and damage every machine in its path, including your own. So make sure you take a good look at the board before you send it off to the races. You should also make sure it's able to finish its attack on an empty spot. Otherwise, you won't be able to attack at all. Here, I'll show you. Look, it even rotated your piece. A nifty little piece you'll definitely want in your set. If you look at your notes, you'll notice this particular machine has one of the skills I mentioned before. There's quite a few of those. And we haven't even looked at all the machine types yet. But I'm pretty sure you've got more important things to do, so I made you a list. It's got all the tips and tricks we talked about, too. I think that about does it for now, so if you want to play a real game, just let me know. Let's play! Okay, let's see. Board's all yours. Just one piece left. That sure dampens the forge. My turn. Oh, looks like I lost. Good luck. Your move, Red. Time to make my move. Your turn. Well, that's done now. Time to get serious. Hey! Oh, that was the perfect spot! I'm up. Ah, off the board it goes. get nervous when I overcharge my pieces. Time to get serious. You have to admit, that was impressive. That's it for me. Looks like you're down to one piece. Okay, let's see. You're up, Red. That was brutal. My turn. I won! Oh, but I'll play you again if you want. Let's do this! You're up, Red. I'm up. Your move, Red. Time to make my move. Board's all yours. Time to make my move. Your turn. Okay, let's see. That's it for me. You're just hammering down on my pieces now. Time to get serious. Knocked right off the board. Your move, Red. One less piece on the board. Knocked right off the board. My turn. One less piece on the board. Board's all yours. I'm up. Your turn. Okay, let's see. You're up, Red. Time to get serious. Well, that's done now. Ah, not that easy to get through my machine's armor. You got me. Here we go. That's it for me. I'm up. That's it for me. Off the board it goes. That was brutal. That was brutal. Thank the forge you hit armor. Fearless. Time to make my move. One less piece on the board. Well, that's done now. My turn. You're up, Red. Time to get serious. Knocked right off the board. Off the board it goes. I'm up. Board's all yours. Oh, I thought I had that one. This is gonna be fun. My turn. Your turn. Lucky me, you hit armor. Okay, let's see. Well, that's done now. That was brutal. Knocked right off the board. Time to make my move. One less piece on the board. Your move, Red. I was hoping you wouldn't do that. Ah, off the board it goes. My turn. Your turn. One less piece on the board. Well, that's done now. Your move, Red. Well, spark my forge. You have beaten me on every one of my boards. Now that deserves a prize, I say. I'll see you later, Aloy.
Come for that beer after all, eh? Here, sit down. Get a pint in her hand. Wasn't expecting you to swing by.
Since when do I do what's expected?
Ha! There's that spark. Fire and spit.
Fire and spit.
That's a blast from the bellows. Won't fix the forge, but at least I can forget about my troubles for a while.
Like what?
Well, things aren't as bad since you got this place running again. But we still got Olvin grating the gears about his concession decree. If you don't put that down, I'll come over there and show you how that game ends. Anyway, right now, I'm just worried about those refugees out from Sunfall. To come all this way enduring Forge knows what.
Shadow Carja refugees. What are they doing in the Daunt?
Looking for a new home, I gather. They're camped out by an old trailhead, southwest of here. And therein lies the problem. A Stormbird crashed up on the cliffs last week, and Talon Cleanbrokers had his eye on the salvage ever since. But the refugees have barred entrance. Mustn't interrupt their sun-scorched ritual. Something about finding a twilight path.
Huh. Never heard them talk about that before.
Yeah, well, these particular Shadow Carja are an odd bunch. But overall, they're peaceful folk. Not that it matters to Talon. He'll crack some heads to get to that salvage. Maybe you could swing by, convince him to set up camp somewhere else?
I thought you'd be back in Freeheap.
Well, after the big battle at Meridian, I went back. But realized it was running smooth. Didn't need me. Heard about the rebuilding out at Barren Light. Figured they could use another hammer. Been scraping by ever since.
You could always leave.
And go back east? Nah. I ain't one to leave a lit forge. Besides, someone's gotta be a squeaky wheel for the workers around here.
So the bristlebacks in the Daunt. Where did they come from?
That's the thing. No one rightly knows. They just showed up one day, rampaging around the valley like they exploded out of a forge. Lost some good people. But bless the bellows, you cleared them out and got this place working again. That put a dent in Olvin's plans. Now, if only there were some way to smash them all together and run them out of town.
But how could bristlebacks in the Daunt help Olvind?
2 words. Concession decree. Since no one knows where the bristlebacks came from, Olvind has taken to blaming the Carja for them. He's hoping to dig up enough old resentments to get a strike going until the concession's signed. This is just his latest attempt. He's been trying to rile up the workers since the day he rolled into town.
And people actually believe him?
Lots of folks suffered at the hands of the Mad King during the Red Raids. Give him half a reason, they'll blame the Carja for anything.
Damn Carja slavers.
What else can you tell me about the Shadow Carja refugees?
Well, they don't call themselves Shadow Carja for one. At least, not anymore. They're some other brand of sun-crazed. But whatever side of the sun they're on, they're peaceful through and through. Don't seem to want for nothing except a place to live, pray, and just enough food to keep from starving.
So they're just camped outside by a trail, blocking entry to a wrecked Stormbird, waiting for... what, exactly?
Don't rightly know, but I'll tell you this. Should they ever wise up and salvage it, a Stormbird heart is worth a lot. And if they get there first, then by Ostrom law, it's theirs. Not that Tolan Cleanbrokers ever lost sleep over any law-breaking.
I thought you'd be back in Freeheap.
But heard about bins
You could always leave.
and go aside.
Who is this Tolland Cleanbroker?
Just some chuff-huffing pondsman. Got a shop here in town. Lived in Chainscrape since there was a Chainscrape. He and Ulvin go back a ways. Like a pair of coals and a campfire, those two.
So Tolland works for Ulvin?
Ha! Ulvin might think so, but Talon scrapes up his own scams. And he ain't the type to let a few refugees get between him and Stormbird salvage.
So about Ulvin.
Around here, everything's about Ulvin.
How'd he end up in charge?
He got here early, like a squirrel smelling a fat nut. He knew rebuilding Barren Light would need stone and timber. So he jangled purses all over Mainspring, getting investors to front claims on anything in the Daunt that might be worth a damn. Thing is, all the bankers back home know that this is Carja land, and the Sun King can revoke those claims at any time. That's why he's desperate for the magistrate to sign off on a concession decree.
This concession decree, what is it exactly? And how would it help Ulvin?
It's pig diddle, that's what.
A writ that would put all Osram claims in the Daunt under Osram law, even though they're on Carja land. It would mean that any existing ore, stone, and timber claims couldn't be revoked by the Carja. No more risk, no more hesitation for investors back in the claim to pour in the shards and expand their business. And since Ulvin has a stake in all those claims, it would make him richer than a scrapper in a junk heap. Not to mention Chainscrape would become an Osram municipality, so he could buy enough votes to call himself an elderman. He's a sly old badger, I'll give him that. Figures if he keeps up the pressure, eventually the magistrate will sign.
Well, if I'm up that way, I'll talk to the refugees. Try to convince them to move.
Much appreciated. They have it rough. Don't need Talon making it rougher.
Petra said Tolland has a shop here in Chainscrape. I could have a word with him first.
Hey, Xavier. Great to see you.
Going on me. I can see into my stash.
Ah, finally.
What?
Your health is my business.
I'm sorry, I'll be right with you.
Okay, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm saying it's overkill.
It's a weapon. Kill is the point.
Not if it blows the user's arm off. Oh, just stop talking.
Where were we? Ah! So, you look like someone who's always searching for a new weapon. Am I right?
Actually,
But you're just nuts! I am with a customer!
I'm not a customer.
I got it! Triple the powder. It'll blow a Strider sky high. Ba-boom. One-shot kill. Guaranteed.
Maybe I am.
Then you are in the right place at the right time, Red!
How would you like to be the proud owner of the world's first machine-enhanced,
Explosive, done in one, machine wrecking,
yet perfectly safe, javelin thrower?
Are you two from around here?
Nah, the claim. Dad sent us out west in search of some unknown opportunity. Said we'll know it when we see it.
Sounds like you had other ideas.
Let's just say that opening another trading post for my parents isn't how I want to make my mark in this world. I imagine traveling alone must be nice.
So she's your partner?
My apprentice and my sister. She's why we're out here. It was an incident. Another incident.
Involving explosives?
ba-boom.
And Dad's precious homebrew. He shipped us out the next day.
Huh. Tell me more about this weapon of yours.
Saw a scroll when I was a kid by some Karja scholar who wandered out west. Had a scary drawing of a Tenakth warrior hunting with a kind of javelin thrower. Effective? Yes. Basic? Undoubtedly. But coming out here made me remember it. And I'm on the brink of vastly improving the tool's archaic design.
Whereas I will perfect it.
I can use machine parts to enhance the user's throw, increase the projectile's velocity. Well, Boomer here is adamant that enhancing the projectile is better. Namely with explosive tips.
Boomsticks.
Why not both?
That could work. There's one small snag. I need the parts to make the first working model.
Well, for starters, I'll need charger horns. Intact.
Yeah, that. Just be sure to shoot them off before the machine goes down. Otherwise, they break. But the real innovation, and keep it to yourself, is a fang horn rib.
There's a mean one east of here. Blow it sky high.
Boomer! You get him for me. It's yours. My treat.
You have a deal. What happened to you?
That damn mine is what happened to me. It won't be the last injury if Olvin keeps shoving those tongs into those tunnels.
What mine?
Northeast of Chainscrape, where the river ends. I told Corvin we should stop when the first cave-in happened, but Ulvin probably threatened to cut off her pay. Or worse.
How about you slow down and take me through it? You mentioned you were injured in a cave-in.
Yeah, a couple days ago. That's how I hurt this blasted leg. Corvin and the others were opening a new vein while I was checking on an older one. As soon as their blast hit, the tunnel I was in collapsed. If I wasn't running, I'm barely a spark of sleep. We were pushing too hard and too fast.
And you're afraid Corvind and the others might not be as lucky if it happens again.
Mm-hmm. Hit the nail right on the head.
How come Ulvin's in charge? Don't these mines belong to the Karja?
Try telling Ulvin that. He brought in all the backing to get them open. Might as well own them. Fire and spit. You ask him. He owns us as well.
Who's Corvind?
He's their foreman. And a damn good one. The kind that knows how to deal with management when it gets unreasonable. But Ulvin... his demands go beyond unreasonable. Corvin's been doing his best to appease him. He even blamed himself for my injury, when it was Ulvin who ordered the extra shifts.
Sounds like a good guy.
That's why we all put up with the long hours and lousy conditions. But if the whole mine becomes unstable, I'd rather suffer Ulvin's wrath than die buried in rubble.
I could check in on your crew if I'm in the area.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Ignoring me again? Yeah. Not working. How goes it, Hammerhead?
Bet you 50 shards they didn't
Savior, thank you for taking the time, and my condolences that you had to endure Ulvin's bloviating.
I've dealt with worse. It sounds like he's really trying to put you over the barrel.
The idea that the Karja purposely let bristlebacks into the Daunt, it's completely absurd. But the louder and longer he says it, the more support he'll get for his damned concession decree.
How did the Bristlebacks get into the Daunt?
No one knows for sure. The first report of them came from west of the quarry. But unless they have wings I don't know about, I don't see how they could have come over the mountains.
No other way in.
The only way I know about is barren light. Look, if you can get to the bottom of this, I can offer a considerable bounty in return. Help me shut Ulvin up.
What is this concession decree that Ulvin wants?
He wants the Sundom to designate portions of the Daunt as Oseram holdings. Only the portions, mind you, that produce any value.
Let me guess. Because he stands to profit somehow?
Exactly. With the Daunt under Oseram law, he could secure more investment for their numerous ventures.
He can't get those investments without the concession?
No. Not while there's a chance the Sundom could revoke their access. Hence, why the concession is so important to him. And why blaming the Karja for the Bristlebacks, no matter how absurd, works in his favor.
How does blaming the Karja for the Bristlebacks help Ulvin get his concession?
Look around. This may be the Sundom, but Chainscrape is all gears and rust and bad ale. claiming that the Karja loosed the bristlebacks in order to intimidate Oseram laborers into obedience. Well, let's just say no one here has forgotten the atrocities of the Mad Sun King, even with the valley working again. Ulvund hopes he can stir up enough resentment against the Karja to call for a strike.
And if the Oseram refuse to work, unless the concession is signed, you won't have a choice.
Correct. The reconstruction of Barren Light must continue.
How did you get stuck out here?
I asked for the posting, believe it or not. Overseeing the entire valley on behalf of the Sun King? It was an honor. Is an honor, I mean.
But your job would be a lot easier without someone like Ulvund blasting hot air all the time?
Ulvund's not going anywhere. He's been around longer than I have. Even fancies himself the founder of Chainscrape. No, I'll find a way to live with him. I have to.
You said the bristlebacks were first spotted west of the quarry?
Yes, according to one terrified laborer, said the ground trembled before they came charging down the hillside. He took off and ran all the way here.
Good place to start looking, then.
If you learn the truth, maybe Ulvund will stop blaming the Karja for every problem under the sun, and maybe then he'll actually focus on rebuilding Barren Light instead.
Slow down! Look at you!